Go for a ride, buddy? Want to go for a ride in the truck? Yeah? Alright, come on. Ready? Let's go for a ride. Scoot over, buddy. Scoot over, you know the drill. I gotta drive, not you. Scoot over. All right, buddy, ready? Go work on the car. All right. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're continuing the carburetor swap on Little Red, my 85 C4 Corvette. If you guys saw in the last video, I completely removed the tune port injection intake along with our AC and smog pump components, which freed up a ton of engine bay space here for us to work around. I tied up the old wiring harness and just tucked it up against the firewall so that it's up and out of the way. And if for any reason we had to revert back to our stock tune port injection setup, we can do so pretty easily. Now in this video we're not going to get the car completely running on the carburetor, but we'll hopefully have everything installed. If you guys take a look over here, I have this Edelbrock 650 CFM 4-barrel carburetor that we're going to mount on top of our Edelbrock Performer intake manifold. And then over here we have our new Vacuum Advanced HEI distributor, as well as our MSD 6AL box that we're going to be using. So I'll show you guys the installation of that. Then we still have to figure out how we're going to tie in the fuel system. So these right here are our two stock fuel lines that run to the fuel rails on our tune port injection setup. So in order for us to run the stock fuel pump in the car that puts out 60 or so pounds of pressure to your fuel rails, we're going to have to run a return style regulator back to the tank so that we're only getting about 5 to 7 psi at the carburetor. We don't want to put 60 pounds of fuel pressure to a carburetor. So we're going to be making a trip up to Summit in this video so that we can get our return style regulator. We have our fuel pressure gauge right here. We have our T-fitting for our fuel pressure gauge so that we can monitor exactly how much fuel pressure is going to our float bowls. Now real quick, I am going to pull the lid off of this carburetor so that we can have a look in there and make sure that nothing's damaged, because I don't really know much about this carburetor. I just know that it was in the box down there and it was sitting in my grandpa's garage for a handful of years. So we're gonna tear into this thing a little bit, not really do a rebuild, but we're just gonna check some things, make sure that everything looks like it will function properly. And then we're gonna take some carb cleaner here and we're gonna spray the carburetor out, clean it all out, and we have to clean out this intake manifold. If you guys can kind of see inside there, we have some just deposits and gunk. We're probably gonna pull the thermostat out and take a look at that. Just kind of double check these parts here before we go to installing it on the engine. And then under our duct tape from the last video that covers our ports, we're gonna have to remove that old gasket and clean up our surfaces. As you guys can see, there's a lot of built up just gunk and grime under here, so we're gonna clean all that up. We are gonna need a new serpentine belt, and we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna route our tensioner, which is in this box here. So we're gonna have to remove our tensioner from, I'm pretty sure it looks like our AC bracket, so that we can remount it to the front of the engine. And then also there are some of these bolt holes here that do go into an oil passage, so we're gonna have to make sure that those are plugged up so that we don't have oil spewing out the front of the engine under pressure. And then once we have everything hooked up, it'll just be a matter of getting the fuel system figured out and getting our radiator fan situation fixed, like I mentioned in the previous video. This is our TV cable for our 700R4 that we're gonna leave removed for now because, like I mentioned, I have the case for our TH350 over there that with all the parts and those pans down there, we're gonna have to clean all that stuff up and build that transmission, which I'll be doing in a video as well. And then we'll cross our fingers. Hopefully all of that goes smoothly. You guys will see it in the video regardless. So like I mentioned before, I'm not a professional whatsoever. This is the first time I'm actually tackling something like this, and the first time I'm really working with a carburetor, aside from messing around with them in school a little bit. So not only is it going to be a learning process, but it's also going to be a build process. It just takes time to route everything and make sure that everything gets working properly. So it might be a second before you guys do see this video, but if you guys subscribe to the channel and turned on post notifications, you guys hopefully won't miss this video when it goes up. Now enough of the talking, we're gonna go ahead and grab our carburetor cleaner. We're gonna open up this carburetor, clean everything up, make it look really, really nice, clean off our old gasket material, and then we'll pick up the vlog from there. So step one on the list, we have our carburetor right here. It looks like we take off all these Torx screws. Looks like maybe a T20 or 25. So we'll take a look. We'll take our T25, grab our 1/4 inch drive, and we'll crack this guy open just to see exactly what we have going on underneath the lid. Okay, so we have them all broken loose. So now we can take our impact and we'll zip them out real quick. So we're gonna have to disconnect our accelerator pump, and we should be able to lift this guy right up and off. It doesn't look like there's any damage to our gasket. Doesn't look like we have any damage here. We have a little bit of gunk and grime in here, which we can spray down with our carburetor cleaner. Disassemble our accelerator pump, like so. Just a little bit of dust in here, which isn't bad. That should clean up fairly easy. We have our jets down here at the bottom of our float bowls. Flip this guy upside down, and looks like we have some little bit of gunk and grime down here, which is to be expected. We can clean that off fairly easy. Make sure our throttle flaps work, which they do. We got our primaries and then our mechanical secondaries. As you guys can see, those are working fine. This looks like a little bit of carbon buildup for the most part, so we'll be able to clean this guy up fairly easy. I'm not going to touch the jets. I don't really know what size are in them, to be honest with you. Yeah, so it looks like we just have a few different gaskets. This one, I believe, looks like it's in better shape than the one that's on there. So we're gonna go ahead and replace that. I need to remove our float bowls to get this gasket off. So we'll pull the pin out. There's number 2. Doesn't look like there's any damage to them. Now we can remove our gasket. That does just seem like it's had a little bit of wear. Probably still would work. But now before we install our new gasket, we're going to go ahead and clean up this carburetor with our carb cleaner. We're going to use a fairly decent amount. So take this guy over to our cleaning station, courtesy of Rock Auto, not sponsored. And we'll take our carburetor cleaner with our clean paper towel, and we'll spray the shit out of this thing. Alright, those seem to clean up pretty good. We'll get it in the light here. Now we can put our spring for our accelerator pump back in. Now we can slowly lower this down. And we want to make sure that our needles here align with our jets in the bottom of the float bowl. So very gently here, if I apply a little bit of pressure, wiggle it around a little bit, it should line up. Like so, there's one side. There we go. We can get our screws started. Make sure every single one of them is snugged up. Flip her back over, and we will hook up our accelerator pump to our throttle linkage. Like so. There we go. We got our new gasket. We got it cleaned up pretty good. So we'll set the carburetor aside, and now we can do the same thing with our intake manifold. First, I'm going to remove this thermostat and hopefully not snap any bolts. Okay, 1. Oh, 2. That one was easy. Alright, man. Okay. The thermostat out. We'll take this guy over to our cleaning station. Now I'm more than likely going to be pulling this back off here relatively soon so that I can paint it and really clean up the car, but right now we're just trying to get it functioning. Looks like it cleaned up pretty good. So now we can go ahead and remove our duct tape from our engine here. We should be in good shape to remove our old intake manifold gasket. There's 1, 2. Alright. Take our little scraper here and we should be able to remove the old RTV silicone that's on the china wall. Now we're going to flip our intake manifold over. Whoa. Well, I think we're going to have to take this off and redo it again because I'm pretty sure this is our oil pressure sensor back here. It looks like this intake manifold is rubbing up against it. We need the whole entire thing to shift literally like a 1/16 of an inch back towards the rear of the car because we cannot get our bolts started. So I'm going to have to lift this back up, which bothers me a lot, which we can always reapply. But we'll lift this guy back up. Set it upside down over here. I'm going to take my Dremel tool and I'm just going to grind out this little area here. We'll wipe off some of our gasket material here right around where I'm going to be modifying. I'm going to grab the Dremel, my extension cord, and my safety glasses, and we're going to wish me luck. I know they say third time's a charm, but hopefully we don't have to do this a third time. Alright, we got one started. Now when you do this stuff, you definitely want to hand tighten them. You don't want to use an impact to run this stuff on. First we're going to get them all started, and then once I know for a fact that we have them all started, we can then go ahead and torque them down in sequence. Now we're going to do a quick Google search to find out our torque specs for a small block Chevy intake manifold. So we want to set this image front facing forward like so. So the way that we're going to do it is, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we go back to the distributor, 5, 6, cross 7, 8. Over here, 9, 10, cross 11, 12. 25 foot-pounds, at least 2 steps. So we'll torque them all to about 13, then we'll torque them all to 25. So now that they are all hand tight and snug, we'll pop open this bad boy, my Matco Tools torque wrench. I bought this thing when I was in school and I love this thing. It beeps and has lights to indicate when you're creeping up to your torque spec and when you actually hit the torque spec. It says I need to replace the batteries, of course. So a little ironic, the torque wrench here, if you guys take a look, it'll show in a second. There we go. Torque wrench is out of batteries. So that notification came up, and then literally less than 10 seconds later, my GoPro battery died as well. So we're back on the G7X, and if you guys look here, this is looking awesome. I'm really excited. We did have to, in the back, take the Dremel to it just a little bit so that that oil pressure sending unit was able to fit. So let's pop some batteries in our torque wrench and get this intake manifold torqued down. So that is going to be our torque sequence, and we're going to do it in 2 steps. So the first time I'm going to go around, we will do it at 13 foot-pounds, and then we'll go around one more time and do a total of 25 foot-pounds. So now up next we're going to do the exact same torque sequence, but we're going to raise this up to 25 foot-pounds, and that will be our final torque. Well guys, we did strip one. It looked like it was already kind of on its way out before we put it on there. It was still at like 24 point something foot-pounds, so we were pretty close to that 25 foot-pounds. So good news is it's tight enough. Bad news is we're gonna have to deal with that next time we take this off, but hopefully that's not for a little bit of time. So we'll move on and do our fourth one that shouldn't give us a problem. Well, there you have it guys, our intake manifold is installed. Now if I look at the two thermostats, this is the one out of the tune port injection setup here compared to the one that was in the Edelbrock Performer. This one just looks a little bit more beat up in my opinion, so probably going to pop this one in. Instead of me using this water neck that's old and rusty and actually shorter, we're going to clean this one up first. Obviously get the corrosion and stuff off of it. But this is the water neck for the tune port injection manifold. We're going to be using this with the thermostat that was in the Edelbrock Performer, and that way this should be able to hook up to our factory hose that runs on the driver's side of our radiator up to our thermostat. This is going to be exciting. There we go guys. Hopefully our hood will close without any problems. We're gonna have to see if this will fit. If not, we might have to get Little Red a cowl hood. I think it's gonna work. Oh, it is really close, dude. But it does look like it's gonna fit. Got some brainstorming to do. We got a good bit done, and I'm pretty much at a standstill until we run up to Summit to get parts. So I'll make a quick list of a few things that we have to get, and we will pick up the vlog in just a day or so when we make a trip up to Summit. Alright guys, so we made it back to the garage. If you guys can tell, the Subaru hood is now gloss black. I'm doing a whole gloss black, kind of two-tone look. We're going to do the hood, roof, trunk, and wing in gloss black. But I'm going to be taking this car to the track more than likely next weekend as long as the weather holds up. So Subaru content is on the way. I do still have it. I haven't made videos on it in a while. If you guys take a look over here, we went for our fuel pressure regulator, but we ended up picking up some more parts. If you guys take a look at this electric water pump, it's a Proform water pump. My grandpa just had this laying around the garage, so my whole goal with that is we're going to replace this factory one here. That will minimize what we have to do with our belt tensioner. Might be able to somehow mount a tensioner up here so that we only have our belt running from our crank pulley to our power steering pulley to our alternator pulley. So we still have to figure that out, but that would be one less pulley that we have to go around. It might be easier to run this. I'm not positive yet. You guys will see that in the very next video. But over here, you guys obviously can see this comp cam's camshaft. This is not for Little Red. I picked up this camshaft for the big block build over there that will be going in the Monza. We're going to be building it here in just a few months over the winter so that we'll have that car out and to the track. Now I'm going to throw a quick sneak peek on the screen right now of how the Monza is turning out. We have it out for a custom wrap. The Monza is looking absolutely sick. This car is going to stand out everywhere it goes, and it's going to look gorgeous going down the track after we build this 468 big block for it. But we still need to order the cylinder heads, intake manifold, and the carburetor. So just as soon as we have the money for that, that will be coming in as well. So this big block will be done here relatively soon enough for us to go racing next season for sure. So super excited about that. Definitely stay tuned for some racing content on the way. But this video is on Little Red. So we picked up our Holley return style fuel pressure regulator and picked up this Edelbrock dropped base air cleaner. So it should hopefully fit underneath the hood without any clearance issues. We'll go ahead and throw on the GoPro, we'll pop this air cleaner on, and then we'll pretty much call that a video. In the very next video, you guys will see me, hopefully, getting this car running, installing the fuel pressure regulator, running my fuel lines to the carburetor, and the goal next video on Little Red is to have this car running. So leave a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss out on that. So yeah, let's pop on the GoPro, and hopefully this Edelbrock air cleaner will fit underneath the hood of the Corvette. Let's open up the air cleaner, set our base down here. It does sit up a little bit high. Now my grandpa had this silver one that's definitely smaller sitting around the garage, so we might have to mount this one instead, but let's see. I do like the look of this Edelbrock one for sure, and it looks like we would get a lot more airflow than that one, which will help with power. So it does sit on top of it. So let's take this off and try this smaller one. It looks like a 2-inch air cleaner compared to the 3-inch air cleaner, and it's actually a smaller diameter here. Now this one we could probably clean up a bit as well, so we could make it work. Well, it looks like this smaller air cleaner definitely works. Well guys, it looks like this will be the air cleaner we'll be using. It sits perfectly right in this space between these two hood lights. I'm definitely going to clean this thing up, probably just paint it a gloss black, put like a Beeler Racing sticker on it, or put Dan Drives down here, or both, or something. And then we're definitely going to replace the actual filter. So like I mentioned, this video was just getting the carburetor and intake manifold mounted. The very next video we're going to actually focus on getting this car running. So next video is going to be pretty extensive, guys. It might take me a little bit of time to get it done, filmed, edited, and uploaded, so just hang tight, be patient. It's definitely going to be worth the wait. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so that you don't miss out. So again, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. This has been Dan. I'll see you guys next time.